Today's speaker is Mike Schmidt of SoClean and Jessica Cormier of SoClean. They are one of our winners from this past season, so we are excited to have them come and join us today. SoClean is the world's first automated CPAP equipment cleaner. I'm going to let Mike and Jessica talk about that and all the things they've done to identify a new market and fill it. So please welcome Mike and Jessica.
Thank you for allowing us to be here today to tell the SoClean story. We never get tired of telling it. I hope you don't get tired of hearing it one more time. SoClean as a company was incorporated in 2011 in July, and we filed for patents on the SoClean machine in August of that year. But that's not when the story started, so I'm going to back up a little bit and just share some information on how the idea came about and what led up to the creation of the SoClean machine. Because the story for me really started in 2007, 4 years before we actually came up with the product. I joined a company that made disc repair machines, and somebody's like, what's a disc anymore? But they did CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays for video stores and libraries. At that time, Hollywood Video, Movie Gallery, Blockbuster, they were in business. I don't know about you, but I don't know any of those anymore. And so that I joined a company that was not making any money, had a shrinking market, and no real prospects. And so you think that's a little crazy. But I was not only willing to join it, I actually put my own money in it to keep it afloat and to get it going. But it didn't have anything to do with that product. It had to do with the people that were in that company. I've worked with other small businesses to help them turn around. But this was the first time that I really saw the group of dedicated people, not the person that started the company, but the people that worked there. Dedicated people, not only to a cause, but to each other. I never had seen a team like that before. And so for some people, a company is the products, the procedures, the processes, the market. None of that was there. But I wanted to work with that team, and I haven't been disappointed. So this was a team that had a common goal, and that goal then led to the rest of the SoClean story. So while we took some time to right the ship, in fact, it took us quite a while to get the company profitable and get it where it was. And I will share this, the company that SoClean sprung from is called VenMill Industries. You've never heard of it. When I joined in 2007, it was a $3.7 million company. In 2017, it was a $3.7 million company. So it's been steady. We've been able to keep it going, and it makes between 15 and 18% of profit EBITDA. So it's still a very good company for us, but it's definitely not what I joined for. So once we got the company where we needed it to be, we started looking for, well, what can we do? First, you come up with a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? And ours was, from this small group of 5 people, we want to have one of our products in every house in the world. Huge goal. I mean, but if you don't have a big goal, what are you going to do? So we said that was the goal. What can we do to get there? So we started looking at products. We spent about 1.5 years looking at different products, and there were certain things that we just couldn't do. Either it was another market that wasn't going to grow, it was a market that had too many players in it, we didn't think we could make a difference, or it was more money and time than we had, or that we felt we had. So we were continuing to look for products. I went back out to the employees and said, okay, what is it in life that just frustrates you? And to our surprise, a CPAP machine came up, cleaning a CPAP machine. For those of you who don't use a CPAP machine, you don't know a whole lot about it, but just give you a little background briefly. People who have sleep apnea, it means that they stop breathing during the night. Their throat closes and they stop breathing. And they estimate there's at least 100 million people around the world that suffer from that, and it's continuing to grow. The comorbidities of that lead to high blood pressure, to other problems. They can get diabetes, just many problems that are caused by sleep apnea, or OSA, obstructive sleep apnea. And so the best treatment, the common treatment, is a CPAP machine. We have one on the table over there if you'd like to take a look at it later and how it hooks up to a SoClean. But if we think about the major accidents that we hear, the train that went off the rails in New Jersey in the station, the truck driver that hit the comedian, the Walmart truck driver, all of those were undiagnosed or untreated or improperly treated sleep apnea. So it's a huge problem. So the market was there. We said it's a big market, it's a growing market. Not going to get us to every home in the world, but it's a big market, growing market. We wanted to get into it with a CPAP cleaner. So if we just take a moment, though, and think about why there was a need for this product. This is a CPAP machine, and it's a device that helps people with sleep apnea. It just pushes air and keeps their throat open. So they wear it so their airway stays open. But if we think about a CPAP machine and think about what it's doing, how does it work? This is just the CPAP machine. Jess will go into our machine. But this is actually taking air in so it can push it into your nostrils and then keep your throat open. But in many cases, they use warm water because just air blowing in, you'll dry out. So they use warm water. The air passes over this warm water. And that happens all night. So if you think about that, for 8 hours, we're warming that water. It's warm, dark, moist. To me, that's a petri dish. I could grow anything in there. And CPAP manufacturers hate that when I say that. But that's really what it is. And that's what we found, that people have developed infections and different problems from it. So we had our mission. We had a growing market. And we really had an opportunity to be the first one in that market, because prior to this, the manufacturers and everybody accepted the practice. It was soap and water. And to us, that was like the 50s, before you had dishwashers. And I'm sure everybody has a dishwasher in their home. So we couldn't believe that there wasn't a product out there like that. So our first goal was to make sure that there's nobody already in that space. The second goal was to figure out what was needed in that space. We found out that everybody hated cleaning, nobody wanted to do it, and that there was a concern about cleaning. Because we noticed that, especially with, I live with a person, my wife has a CPAP machine, and we noticed after she got it, she slept better, she felt better, but then she started having other respiratory issues. Sinus infection, respiratory infection, bronchitis, and we traced it back to that it got worse after she got the CPAP machine. So we knew there was a real need. We knew there was a real market. Again, as I said, we almost couldn't believe that that market was still out there. And so then we had to develop a product for it, and that's what we did starting in 2011. So that's when the story of SoClean itself as a company started, July of 2011. But there's a whole lot more to how we got to where we were fortunate enough to win the Innovation Award last year. And when it gets to marketing and how we went to market, that's all Jess. She's our director of marketing, so I'm going to turn it over to Jess.
Hi, everyone. So, if we take a look at our next slide here, as Mike had established, we're talking about, we figured out that there's this problem that needed some solving, but how do we know that there's a market for it? What did we know? We knew that through experiences with Mike and his wife that we were seeing this trend, and so we went a little bit old school. We went to just do surveys, and the first people we hit were coworkers, friends, family. It didn't matter. We did it extremely easy. We just do something, on a Word document that had questions on it. We sent it home with everybody. We had them all fill it out, and everybody just brought it back. And it was low cost as you could get. And we sat there and we analyzed the results, and we were like, there's something trending here. We knew that there was something that we were kind of on to. So the next step after that is we used an independent survey platform. And the reason being is now we were going to invest a little bit of money into this polling of people to see, again, do we have something that we can develop a product on and be able to enter and sell into this market? So I listed it here. This is one I've used many times in the past. It's called AYTM. It's Ask Your Target Market. It's completely online. What you can have with this is a qualifying question. So here we have this set of people that are specific CPAP users. And so I didn't want to just send out a survey that would just, hit everybody, and then we have these skewed responses or people who couldn't speak to the problem or any pain points that they were having. So we would have a qualifying question, and that was, do you use a CPAP machine? And then we would go ahead and we developed a survey and we would send it out, and we knew that every single person who answered that was a CPAP user. And as you can see here, just kind of, I brought out one question on the slide, and it's question 11, and it reads, if after each use of your CPAP you do nothing and yet you're able to come home and go to bed with your reservoir, hose, mask, and headgear completely fresh and sanitized, with no use of chemicals or harmful byproducts, would this interest you? I think you can clearly see from the slide here that we had great interest. You'll notice this one particularly only has 400 respondents. We made sure to, something that I learned along the way was we would develop a survey. You may not phrase your questions right, and so again, you could skew responses and not get the market data that you need. So we would send small little bits out and get the responses in, make sure everybody was answering appropriately, tweak the survey, resend again, figured out that we had the survey written right, and then we would send it out into a mass to 1,000 different respondents. Because again, you're paying for all these surveys. So that was a great way of being able to get a lot of feedback in. So our next steps, we knew now all of a sudden we've got this viable product that we want to build. We have prototypes. First picture here is our initial prototype, which we've kind of coined the jewelry box. Nothing fancy. And then we went on to our first version that entered into the market, which we also coined the coffin. And Mike remembers it being called the bomb. And we were able to bring this product into market. You know, the goals, the absolute goal with these first products was really to get user feedback. It's like, it sounds like I'm just saying the same thing, but that's what was so important to us. Let's get a product in people's hands now get more feedback. You know, what are their habits? What are their likes, dislikes? You know, we got feedback from like the timer. You'll see on the next slide, and I'll point it out again, but that timer is inside the lid. So we were getting all this feedback that was coming in of, was that a good location, is it a bad location? And it was extremely important for us to build a product that people loved. And as you can see from this slide, many of you know and recognize this unit right here that we've been in the market. This particular unit here, we took a lot of that feedback and we took it to the next level. That next level now we started interviewing design firms. What's really important is not only did we interview design firms with product design, but we focused on firms that specialized in healthcare and medical products. And the reason being is we were going to be sitting alongside CPAP units, another healthcare medical product. It needed to be within that family and it needed to match. And so we if you notice, actually, you see the timer here. It's no longer inside the lid. You know, we took that feedback, we dressed up the product. There are things like what we call the side ports. It's where the hose of the CPAP unit rests inside of the SoClean. The previous picture showed it was only on one side, but that's not the habit of people. They sleep on either sides of the bed. So you need to be able to be flexible, to be able to allow someone to have comfort with their CPAP unit and how they lay it. So we introduced 2 side ports on there. So again, you know, we aimed to really create a product that included all of that feedback we were getting. So how long did it take to get from that black unit that you saw to this unit? It was approximately 1 year. You know, between the design, working with the companies with that, and then we went back into, you know, going into molds for manufacturing, the firmware, the packaging design. 1 year later, we were ready to hit the market with this unit that you see here. So how does it work? We use Ozone. We generate it within the SoClean itself. I'm going to try not to move away from this too far. But as you can see here where the number 1 is we are actually generating ozone out of the back of the SoClean, and it goes through this hose that's right up in the front. And we have a connection piece that goes into the CPAP reservoir. That is then pumped into the reservoir. Whether there's water or no water in there, it does not matter. Everything is becoming sanitized. It's a gas. It's going to naturally flow and migrate. That then migrates and floats into the tube of the hose of the CPAP unit there. And hoses have crevices. So if you were actually to wash that by hand, it can be difficult because there are ridges inside of the hose. With gas, we're able to expose everything to it. It's getting sanitized. And then we come in and out of the mask, which is securely in the chamber of the SoClean here. So what happens is our unit is able to do everything all at once. It's made cleaning simple and easy. Mask, hose, headgear, reservoir, water inside a reservoir, everything is clean for the user. So back into marketing. When we were ready to start going into the market, we had played around with some messaging. Is it convenience or is it going to be health that's going to intrigue people to buy? So what seemed like a good angle is the convenience aspect. We were taking in a lot of the surveys that we had done initially, and we took, a lot of people, commented that convenience was good for them. Health was also good for them. They kind of ranked pretty equal, but we're like, we're gonna go the convenience route. So we agreed with that, and we moved forward, and the sales were happening, but they weren't as good as we wanted them to be. And so what we ended up doing was those who did buy, the pool of people who did buy, we went back and we surveyed them again. And we said, what was it that motivated you to buy? And they said it was their health. And so at that moment, we changed our message. And as you can see here, it's, did you know that a dirty CPAP could make you sick? That message to this day is our main message on all of our marketing that continues to outperform all of our creative. And so the thing is sometimes you have a vision and you think it's gonna work, but don't be afraid to change, because a simple message can also be what kind of brings you to that next level. So as we continue to try to grow and enter into this market, you have to remember we were a bit of a bootstrap company. And so there wasn't a ton of cash flow to just go straight into TV and like we're doing now. And we would do the basic things. We would do, SEO and organic on the website. We did a lot of research on that. We were seeing what is the traffic volume of people searching for cleaning for CPAPs. You could see if there were any trends. We could see problems. People were having problems with it. And we would tweak the website, and we would match the website to these terms. We would develop blogs around it, and we started getting this organic flow into the site because we were providing solutions for these people who had these problems that they were searching for. Once we had a good hold on the SEO and the organic aspect of it, we then went into paid per click, PPC advertising. Because again, we didn't have a ton of money, and we wanted to make sure we knew what we were going to be spending our money on. And so we started infusing some money into that. We took the organic words that we were seeing the trends on, and we created advertisements around them. First, to admit, it wasn't the fastest thing that took right off. It actually wasn't really, even more so until radio and TV got layered over it and it became a more holistic campaign did we start seeing a lot more flow into it. But something I did come away with this, and particularly with the PPC program, is that we tried to do it on our own because we were trying to save some money. But a lot of times, sometimes it gets to the point is just do what you know how to do best and let another person or agency do it, because when we switched over to an agency to do our PPC, it just took off. And we were making really good money and getting a lot of conversions and traffic into the site by just handing that over to a company that knew what they were doing. And then we went into social. Social, no matter what, is the best low cost. You get a lot of things around social. You get, the brand awareness. You're able to do awareness around cleaning. Not a lot of people also understood that they needed to do cleaning of their CPAP equipment. We were able to educate. We had contests. People were involved. They were having fun. We were able to do essay contests, and then they would win a machine, and then what they would do is they would create a review on that machine, and then there would be this word of mouth. So we kind of had a viralness that started to happen around that. And so after all that was said and done, we then went into mainstream marketing. We joined up with an agency, our first agency, who specialized in remnant advertisement. It's an extremely low-cost way to enter into direct response advertising. Particularly, we started out with radio. Radio is by far the best way to test any kind of creative concept in front of people. It allowed us to run multiple creative campaigns and understood what campaigns were compelling to people over the radio. Once we had that, we knew then we could take that message into TV. TV is extremely expensive. The production for commercials is very expensive, and so you don't want to enter into TV not understanding what your message is going to be completely. And so that really allowed us to do that, and really our sales started to take off. One of the things is our first agency, we knew we were kind of onto something because by second month we were breaking even with the money that we were putting into it, and third month we started making money. And so knowing that, we were able to scale rapidly from there on out. So, and at this point I will let you close. Sorry.
Thank you. I get the privilege of sharing some numbers with you. Jess, excellent at what she does in marketing and how she grew the company. We did this just to give you some background. We were able to get a $150,000 investment. That got us to the point where we were going to go to design firms and molds, and that took another $500,000 investment. But that's the only investment that's ever been made into SoClean along the way. So this visual message here, or the visual message that Jess talked about, really led to the sales growth that we see here. We were in 2013 and then 2014. By 2015, when we started radio, 2015, we did about $5 million in sales. So that was after almost two hard years of work. We were still only at $5 million in sales. But when we added TV, we saw that jump. So we quadrupled in 2016. We did 19 million. And so that was fast growth, and we were very happy with it. What we found, though, was that we needed to change the marketing, the agency, so we had to go to a bigger, more national agency with new commercials. But what that meant for us then in 2017, in 2016 we quadrupled. We said, okay, that's good. Let's kind of trim that. 2017 we have a goal of 36 million. And that's what we said we were going to do. Last year in April, when I presented at the Innovation Award, I said, well, we've changed that 36 million to 53 million. At the end of the second quarter, we said, no, we better change it again, so we changed it to 65 million. At the end of the third quarter, we said, no, we're going to do $80 million, and we did 84. So we did $84 million, so we quadrupled again. And I don't know if any of you have ever had the opportunity to do that. That's a ride. That's nice ride. Yeah, it's a nice ride, but it's not just hiring the people and getting the message and delivering the product. The two things that don't work well together are fast growth and cash flow. And the only investments we ever made into the company were the first two. So we were very fortunate to work with a small town bank. We're a Webster 5 cents bank. Not a big bank, but they believed in us, and we had many, many meetings, and so we kept increasing our line of credit, and they worked with us along the way. So it's just a great success for us to hit the 84 million, but it was still, we knew there was more growth to go, and we also knew our limitations. We were growing at 30 to 60% a month, and that's just explosive growth and hard to control, at least for me. I honestly, my first job was with General Foods. It was a big company, but I was a small cog. I didn't have to worry about all the other stuff. So when it got to $80 million, and even before then, in early 2017, we knew that it was time to find a partner to take SoClean where it really could go. And it had grown beyond our small group. I think I'm very happy with everybody. We have very talented people. But we hired an investment banker to take us to market. They had the expertise that we needed to continue the growth of SoClean. We were also very fortunate. Jess talks about bootstrapping, how we just tried small things. We had an advisor as a CEO for a while. In late 2016, he became a part-time CEO to advise, and we were paying him. We were able to find a part-time CFO, a part-time CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. We couldn't afford these people with the cash flow that we had. Even though we were making great profit, we couldn't afford those people on a full-time basis. Those are high-cost people. I would just say it in the nicest possible way. Then they earn every penny of it. But we were very, very fortunate that they met the needs of the company as we grew. So then in December, actually, of 2017, 2017, excuse me, we were able to sell the majority interest to a company called DW Healthcare Partners, and there's been a lot of announcements about that. They now have the majority interest of SoClean, and they're really going to be the ones that take us to the next level. That part-time CEO that I mentioned, the part-time CFO, the part-time CMO, all of those are now full-time people, and they're adding more to get us to the next level and put the structure in place. In 2018, we've done a great job in the U.S., as I said, $84 million in sales. That's just one part of the world. Only 40% of the CPAP users are in the United States. My expertise and our expertise as a company is not international. And so the 2018 is all about the international market. So they've just hired a vice president of international that will be taking the SoClean into the international market to try and duplicate what we've done in the United States. We also recognize that we aren't going to be able to sell in the same way in international markets. I think that's one of the things, if we continue to say it, it's because we continue to believe it. We test the waters. We don't automatically think we know how to do anything. We have ideas, we test it, we refine it, and once we're comfortable with it, then we invest time and effort to do it. And we're doing the same thing with the international expansion. So that's the story of SoClean, but it's really not the end of the story. That small team of dedicated people that I talked about, that I was fortunate enough to find and join in 2007, they're still, for the most part, there, still excited about opportunities. And so we're looking for a product again to fill a real need, because our BHAG has not been recognized or realized for us. We still don't have products that can be in every home in the world. So we're on a new mission now, to find another product and to grow another market like that. And we're happy to say that we're on our way. But thank you again for your time today. It's a true pleasure for us. Actually, it was the market that made us focus in on ozone. Through the marketing surveys, if people were going to spend over $200, it had to be fully automated. And we got to the point where, okay, empty the water out of the reservoir and we'll clean the rest. And again, they just were reluctant to do that. They wanted total convenience. And the only way really to clean that water was, and no disassembly, was ozone. We couldn't use UV. There was just no other way to do it. And so that's how we ended up with ozone. Ozone has a half-life of 30 minutes, and Jess showed the slide that showed how it goes through. Because ozone is a volatile and it attacks organics, it's not something you want to breathe, and we recognize that. So that was another problem we had to overcome. We had two main problems: how to find a connector to get the ozone into the water, and that's what our patent is written around. The other thing was what to do with the ozone. And so in each unit, there's a filter. It's a catalyst that actually breaks down the ozone before it leaves our chamber. That's the need for a chamber. We can't just put the mask and push it right through. So we start with air, room air, convert it to ozone, put it through the system, and then before it exits the chamber, it's converted back to O2. So we're actually putting out better air than we bring in. The machine tells you to replace it. It's based on the number of hours. If you use it every day, about 6 months, it's going to tell you need to replace that. We did the longevity tests, and with the two main components are the ozone generator and the pump, and the switches and boards and things. But we stopped once we passed the 5-year mark. We figured for a $300 product, 5 years. And we have some machines that are out there now coming up on 4.5 years. My wife has one of them. She always gets the first. Yes, ma'am. It's not covered by insurance. I don't know about your insurance. We have Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Massachusetts, which we absolutely love, but they're not really eager to pay things. And so the manufacturers say soap and water. That's what the insurance companies say. So they do not. However, it is FSA available. It's on the FSA store. You can go and get it, or you can use your FSA card. Second thing is other machines coming out. So Use your FSA card. There's now oral devices for not only bruxism but sleep apnea to move your jaw, and some much smaller machines. We recognize those are coming. Do we think they're going to replace the CPAP machine as the standard? No, because they're not going to be able to give you the pressures that you need. They're not going to be fully automated. My wife has now an automated machine called an AutoPAP, and it either increases pressure or decreases pressure based on her breathing. So those are very hard to do with a small unit that just goes on your face. But will they take part of the market? But what we're hoping that does, because our real goal is people who have sleep apnea need to be treated. Whether they have a CPAP or our machine or a mouthpiece, whatever it is, they need to be treated. And for those that can't wear a mask, we're hoping that those types of units get them to where they're treating that sleep apnea. That's our real goal. Not sure I know all the answers to all those questions. I worked for large companies. I mentioned I worked for General Foods, and I worked for another large company that had 8,000 employees. And I didn't really feel that I made a difference. And so in the late 80s, I said, I'm going to go find a small company that I really feel I can make a difference. And I did that for a couple companies, one that sold. And I was looking for an opportunity, and my son knew this lady that worked at the company. And the entrepreneur that started the company was a very smart man, and unfortunately he was too smart. He didn't really listen to the people, and he's a great guy. We still pay him royalties, but he didn't really listen to the employees. And the employees, I interviewed all the, you don't usually do this, but I interviewed all the employees before I went to work there. And I was just impressed with what they wanted to do and what they weren't allowed to do. And so I thought if I could just give them the opportunity to do it, and they've not disappointed. The machine is made in China, and so we were able to continue to ramp up with that manufacturer. It's interesting. I don't know if any of you have worked with Chinese groups or not. They put together a team of 20 people. They just build these things so fast. They'll put together a team around the table and they put these things together. Within 3 weeks, they can duplicate that, and you've had double your production, because they just hire more people. People are easy to get, and they hire more people. It's the parts. We had to sometimes go really stretch ourselves to guarantee the parts so that they would have them in time, because some of the parts had a 26-week lead time. We had to find other sources of chips and plastics, and it was very interesting, I'll just say that. If I never grew that fast again, I don't think I'd be disappointed.
I mean, when we first really started, I mean, the little amounts when we're doing like digital and whatnot, I mean, it was very insignificant fooling with that. It's really when we started into radio, which I want to say was about 45,000, I think. 30,000 the first month. And we were already prepared. We knew we were saving the money. We knew we were prepared that we wouldn't actually gain that money back right away. And so we knew we'd have a loss. And so we took the loss, and then we still went into the next month, because even the agency recognized, no, there's something on, so let's keep pushing forward. And I mean, we were going to give it 90 days, I think it was. And, you know, by that second month, we broke even, so there was no loss on that. And then I want to say, I still think even the third month we didn't increase, I don't think, or did we increase a little bit? It wasn't until probably the fourth or sixth month we started increasing. Percentage-wise, I'm not really exactly sure. You might remember that more, how it was the month-over-month growth. You know, as we entered into TV, I'm going through memory again. I can't remember what the infusion of cash was for the first TV ad. I want to say it was like 100,000, was it? About 100,000. And then really it was, I would say, when we switched agencies, we really went from, you know, a few 100,000 a month to now into, I would say, close to $1 million, I think, in TV advertising. Is it getting close to that now? $1.8 million. And that's TV, radio, that's PPC advertisements, that's remnant printing. That's something I also didn't talk about. We're really finding some success, especially with our market segment. They're still reading. You know, Parade Magazine is doing extremely well. And again, remnants are a lot cheaper. You have much more frequency. That's what we wanted
That was our
to.
goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really do. I truly do, because we watch actually too. We have non-brands, and we watch within web traffic and whatnot and what's being said, and then we have branded terms, and we can see the trends of what happens on social. At any time, also like a TV ad hits or something like that, we watch the spikes of what kind of happened, those trends of those SoClean on there. In Amazon, you even start to type out S now, it like autofills it. So it is when it comes to CPAP cleaning. I truly feel like we have at least achieved that. So.
Mike and Jessica, thank you so much. Every time I hear your story, it just gets more and more fascinating. So glad you're one of our winners from last year, and glad that you're a judge this year. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you to Rockland Trust for being our featured sponsor, and to all of our breakfast sponsors. And we will see you back here on March 14th. Thank you.